It's how I feel about America right now.
See your true colors, so don't be afraid. Let them show your true colors, true colors.
Welcome to the Voiceless podcast. Welcome, Voiceless family. And today is actually a very interesting episode. In this episode, we're talking about everything that's taken place in 2020, from what recently happened with George Floyd and the protests, all the way into what began with Kobe's death in the beginning of this year, which obviously touched most of our hearts. So with that being said, in this podcast, I'm doing this podcast with a good friend of mine's, and some of y'all haven't met him yet, or most of y'all haven't met him yet, but one thing I gotta do with my podcast, I gotta give people their roses while they're still here. So for Erik, which is my guest's name, me and him started off doing talk shows back in San Diego State. We both went to San Diego State, and we had our own radio show called Loaded Up Click Clack Bow. So, and he was actually one of the ones that kind of got me into this type of world of doing like talk shows or doing a podcast. So one thing I got to say about Erik has a kind heart. He'll be there for you, especially for his friends. And he was definitely there for me 4 years that I was in college. Before I had any type of car, any type of vehicles, Erik will make sure that he took care of me. He took me any place, any store, anything like that. So I'm going to give Erik his roses while he's still here. And I appreciate you, Erik. You're a great friend. And that being said, Erik is my guest for the Voices podcast this week. So say what's up to the people, Erik.
What's up, people? I want to thank you, Meech, man. You were always a real homie to me. You always kept it real with me. And so, I appreciate everything you have to say about me. And just as much as you have to say about me, I have to say that you're a real friend.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That is my brother for life. But that being said, me and Erik don't agree on everything. So this is going to be an interesting podcast, and I love that we don't agree on everything. So that being said, I've actually talking about George Floyd. Rest in peace to George Floyd. My condolences go out to his family and everyone that was affected by his murder and by his death. But with that being said, since I already talked about it, and which led to all these different protests and the riots and everything like that, I want to get Erik's point of view on this. So I'm gonna pass the mic to you, Erik, right away, and tell me what you think. Yeah. What do you think about the George Floyd murder, and which incited the protests and everything that's going on right now in America?
Okay, for sure. So starting off with the George Floyd murder, I don't got like a special take on it. I think everybody feels just about the same way. We all feel that it was like horrendous. It was like what's the word? It was like excessive force. It was just really bad all around, I don't think that's a special take on it or anything in that sense. And I feel like most people are happy that he got charged. We'll see if that leads to any convictions, just because thinking back and looking back at history, like the Rodney King riots, I believe they were charged, but I also think they were let go. So who knows how that's going to work out, because that's the real problem, that's what the protests are about. And I want to actually take just a moment and discuss it, because a lot of people talk about like Black Lives Matter and the racism, but we don't get into the details of it. And I feel like not talking about the details of it can sometimes, leave the conversation in other ways, Mm-hmm. So like a lot of times when people are talking about it, I feel like it's almost of an argument, and then you don't even hear the details about what is it really about. Okay. Mm-hmm. So from my understanding, the movement is about, obviously it's about racism, but the main thing they're fighting for is the systemic racism that needs to change. Mm-hmm. So cops, they very, 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 very rarely get convicted of anything. And the reason why is because the way the system's set up. So one, the system's set up that cops watch each other's backs, and snitches get stitches type thing. Like if anybody speaks out, like you're the one who gets into trouble.
It's like they're their own gang in a sense.
Yeah, it kind of is. And you know what? Like, I understand having that close connection, that bond to someone you work with and you put your life on the line with at the same time. But their job is to serve and protect us. So as much as I understand their bond and their connection, like just covering for someone, like no matter what, that's not what we need right now, you know? And so part of it is changing the systemic change, because I think we will always kind of have some racist people, you know, or people who think their own ways, which, I mean, it's not the ideal world, but I think what we really need to change is to make sure that they're held accountable, you know? So you don't have the same cop making multiple mistakes and costing multiple people their lives, you know? Like, I get it, cops are human. And it's kind of funny because people say good cop, bad cop. Like, not everybody's all bad, not everybody's all good, you know? We're all human, we all make mistakes, we all have issues going on. But if, like, being a cop's a hard job, if it's not for you, let's get you out of there. Let's make sure we have a system in place. Let's make sure we have the right training for them, things like that. So that's one of the systemic changes. And I feel like that's something that gets kind of overlooked. Like, people talk about racism, but they don't like really, not everybody's necessarily aware of the systemic way it is, you know? Then the other type of systemic racisms are like redlining. Like, it's not like hidden knowledge that a lot of Black people grow up in more impoverished areas. And then they're kind of set up in a harder path already to begin with, you know? Like, when slavery ended, like, okay, you're free, but it's not like you started off with like land and property and all these things, you know? You started from like nothing and zero. So that kind of just like travels on. And so you're already like behind the game, if that makes sense. And so I think, and then it gets even harder as you grow up. If you grow up in a poor neighborhood, your area collects less taxes, so your schools are not as good. There's a lot of different things like that. So that's the type of systemic racism that I think the issue is more so about, that needs to get talked about. Now, of talking about individual racism for at least the Black Lives Matter movement, the only thing I kind of need to say, in my opinion, that I've seen a lot, and I know some people feel the same way too, is I feel like for individual racism, it needs to come from a place of love to change. Like me and you, Meech, we've had conversations about it, and I was like, Meech, I understand this point of view, and I want you to hear me out, and then maybe correct me where I'm wrong, or maybe let me understand the light of what I haven't seen. Like, you convinced me of some stuff, Meech. Like, I felt a certain way about looting and rioting, and then you convinced me a certain way about it because we're homies. We could talk about it, you know? But I feel like if you got a stranger coming up to you and screaming at you something, like, that's not going to change your opinion. That's not going to change the way you are. So that's kind of my take on it so far.
The thing that's interesting for me is that, let's say anytime I put out a video or even in this podcast when we're discussing racism and things like that, when I put out a video, I'm not putting it out to almost change the mindset of people that are racist, because to me, I feel like that hate is too deep. I mean, for some people, they feel like they can change that. For me, it's kind of, I don't know if it could be changed. I feel like for people that are almost like completely racist, or for people who just simply don't care about the movement or care about, I guess, Black Lives Matter or people's lives outside of their own, then it's kind of hard to change those people. But I feel like the people that can be changed are the people that are maybe just the benefiter, or like the people that are benefiting based from their own privilege in a sense, so that they're kind of blind to the fact of how minorities are living in America, right? Yeah. So, go ahead.
No, I appreciate you saying that, because I mean, I think this is an important thing that you're kind of leading into, and I'm not sure if that's the way you're going, but I think there's a lot of people who might get labeled that racist, but really it's more ignorance. Like, they don't know, they haven't lived that life, so they can't understand it. You know, you've helped me understand some things. Like, me being Hispanic, I might understand things that you don't understand. Yeah. And so it's more like ignorance, not necessarily like, there is racist people out there, but it's not always like, oh, he's racist. He's just unaware. He's ignorant.
Mm-hmm. And then one of the things that Erik was talking about that we talked about earlier this week, and we're kind of was talking about how the media kind of changes the narrative in a sense. So in other words, while there's a lot of people that are peacefully protesting for what happened to George Floyd and just for injustices that take place in America overall, the media tends to focus on the rioting and the looting that's taking place. And for me, my whole point is I want people to understand that, of course, I don't condone rioting or looting. I don't condone destroying my own communities in a sense, or destroying like stores and stuff like that. But I want people to understand that all of that is part of the anger of being unheard, right? So even though there's many different people that are peacefully protesting right now, the media don't even focus on those peaceful protests that are even taking place at this exact moment. But
very true.
They tend to focus on the negative things like the rioting, the looting. But even the rioting and looting, I want people to understand that that's part of our anger or of being unheard, right? So though I may not condone it, I definitely understand why it's taking place. Many people have been protesting peacefully, but it's like we've been unheard, and our peaceful protests have just been overlooked, and the narrative been constantly changed. Like, for one example, and I guess this can almost lead into our next topic I wanted to talk about, which is the Drew Brees comments, right? So just for people to have a greater understanding of why people were coming at Drew Brees, let me read off exactly what Drew Brees said. But since then, I want people to understand Drew Brees has apologized as well, multiple times from his previous comments. But Drew Brees was interviewed by Yahoo Finance, right? And during the interview, the person who was interviewing Drew Brees asked him, because Colin Kaepernick began kneeling due to police brutality, right? And because everything that's taking place right now, he assumed that most of the NFL players are going to be kneeling for this upcoming season. So he was asking Drew Brees, what would he do, or how should the NFL handle this? And what does he think about NFL players taking a knee during the national anthem, right? And that's when Drew Brees said, in quote, "I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country." So in other words, he believed that kneeling while the national anthem is playing is disrespect, right, to our country or to the American flag. And so I want to get your take on that. Tell me what you think.
So his comments, I think, were ignorant and insensitive, Mm-hmm. Like, here's the thing. Especially as, like, I know a lot of people feel against the looting and rioting and things like that. You need to like be very encouraging of those peaceful types of protests. Because, like, even you said, like, it's looting and rioting, you need to understand where it comes from. But, like, a lot of people don't agree with it. Mm-hmm. And that's nothing special. Like, that's not, like, I don't think that's something like that's a controversial take. But, like, him making those comments, like, he's on Colin Kaepernick and all these NFL players, they're on a national stage. They're peacefully protesting. Nobody's getting hurt over it. Like, and it's a good way to, one, protest, two, get the attention, and like things like that. So when you're telling someone like, oh, you wouldn't respect someone, that's pretty offensive, So I can't agree with his comments whatsoever. And I know we're not getting there yet, but I also I think my take is a little bit controversial on people's response to it, though.
Oh, wait, go ahead. Let me know what you think about people's response. Because since then, let me give out one response. One of the people that responded directly to Drew Brees was LeBron James, and in quote, LeBron James said, "You literally still don't understand why Cap was on one knee. Has absolutely nothing to do with the disrespect of the American flag and our soldiers, men and women, who keep our land free." So that is one thing LeBron said, but he went on to say a lot more things. But Which I agree with LeBron James, obviously, because
I like his take on it, and I thought it was good. I like it.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say was, there's a lot of people who their response to Colin Kaepernick, while I understand it, it would have not been my response. A lot of people came out, they like trolling him or like putting anger, almost like trying to cancel him. Like, you know, like they're trying to be more revengeful or take like a vengeance on his comments. And like maybe to the extent some people were calling for him to even get like, you know, fired or to whatever extent. But, you know, we had a lot of people coming out and hating against him. And I know his comments were bad and insensitive, but you're not going to change his opinion by like demeaning him. And maybe this is just the teacher coming out in me, because as a teacher, like you have to be open to people making mistakes in order to improve on them. Because if I have a student and he makes a mistake and I'm like, man, you're dumb, you still didn't learn this? You think he's going to learn it now? I don't think so, in my opinion. Then that's just the way I see it. So I'm not saying you don't have a right to be offended by it. And I understand where they're coming from when people are like hating on him for it. But I think hate doesn't cancel out hate. You know, he works in a league where 70% of the people are black. You know, so I think it's people close to him need to have a conversation with him, like friend to friend. You know, like, hey, you need to understand the comments that you made. Like, if you didn't understand what the kneeling is about, this is what the kneeling's about. And you know what? I understand where you're coming from, because it's important to listen to the other side. Like, I'm not saying he's right, but it's important to listen where he's coming from. So listen and understand. Maybe he's coming from a household where like you don't disrespect the flag. Maybe he has military family. You don't disrespect that, you know? And you say, I understand where you're coming from, but look, it's a peaceful protest and people are really getting hurt by this, you know? Like, just like maybe to you, it's held in high regard because people give their life for the country, for the flag. Well, for that same reason, people are losing their lives in this country. Are we protesting? You know, it's not disrespect to the country. It's not disrespect to the military. It's for this. So I think someone who he's close to needs to have an honest conversation with him, not be like, oh, heck no. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to be offended, but you got to react in the right way to change his mindset. Because if we just come out hating on him, then it's not going to change the mindset, and it's going to build into the culture of, because right now I really think we're in the culture of like, oh, my side versus your side. And there's like no middle ground. It's like a war, where it doesn't need to be like a war. It needs to be like, hey, coming to consensus. I'll learn from you. You learn from me. Hear me out. I hear you out. And then we can start changing things and coming to a better place, instead of just it being like, oh, hell no, you're wrong.
No, I definitely agree with that. But I also do understand the backlash that he got, because he got to understand the moment. Like, this is just keeping it real. You do not say that at this time where there's literally we're protesting because George Floyd was killed by a white cop, right? And then which incited these riots, and which incited this whole kind of like all these protests taking place, right? So in the midst of that, you're still going to think about the flag. Like, you still think that taking a knee is disrespectful. And here's the thing for me, I actually like Drew Brees, and I don't think Drew Brees is racist at all or anything like that. Cause
actually, I was going to ask you that. What do you think his comment was, more so racist or ignorant?
I think it was ignorance. But that's the problem though. I seen recently on Instagram, it's this picture of a iceberg, right? And you see the tip of the iceberg, and I guess the comments, it says like, this is racism caught on a cell phone. You see the tip of the iceberg, right? And it's barely any part of the iceberg, right? But then you see below the sea, you have this huge glacier, right? And then on the glacier is written racism, right? So to me, I feel like that I don't believe Drew Brees is racist at all. And not only that, because I think his track record kind of shows, right? I can't give you exactly statistics that he's helped the black community, but then I know he plays for the New Orleans Saints, and he's helped that community, which is a lot of black people, right? So that being said, I don't believe he's racist at all. I think he's actually one of the people that I believe that actually could change, right? I believe his is based on being desensitized, not only being desensitized, but also not understanding his own privilege, right?
Yeah.
But those people I feel like that actually do care, they're the ones that actually can be changed by the way you're talking, like by actually talking to them. And since then he's apologized multiple times. But here's where here's a different point I'm gonna give you. His comments though during this time is literally almost one of the worst things you could do though. Here's the reason why, because I think he's starting to see how racist America still is, because from his own comments, he's even had Donald Trump come out, all these different people that believe his comments weren't wrong. So in other words, whatever you say in this moment can literally be could be almost motivation or power towards people that actually do hate this movement, right?
Gotcha.
Or it could be or people that are just racist in general, because some people believe what he said was not wrong at all and they believe he shouldn't have apologized, and they use it as motivation. Go ahead.
I hear what you're saying, and I think it's a good point. But let me like, as a teacher, I believe in making mistakes and growing from them, and I think mistakes are important.
Yeah.
And I think, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's okay what he did. Like, if as a teacher, if somebody makes a mistake on the test, I'm not going to give them points for it. But it does help you grow and learn. And even though you're saying like it's the worst possible thing he could do, if he's learning from it, that's a good point. And then it also helps a lot of people understand, like for example, like maybe somebody like me who might take his comments like, that wasn't right. And then you stop and you see how all these people reacted to it. Like, say Donald Trump, oh, you should have not taken back that comment.
Yeah.
Like, that might open other people's eyes to, there is still a lot of racism. Yeah. So even though he made a bad mistake, if he's able to grow from it, and then it helps open other people's eyes to the fact that there is still racism, then, like, you're turning in a mistake into a good, like a good thing to grow off of. Yeah. So that's kind of how I take that perspective. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, oh, his comments were a good thing, but I think we can turn it into a positive thing where people grow from it, understand from it, and then even see the racism out there.
No, I exactly agree with you. The only reason why I said that was the worst thing he could say is just because timing, and because
I agree with you.
Literally, most of his teammates are black, so literally this situation is going to correct itself because he already had to talk to them. So, and then not only that, that's who he's going to be around this whole, like, throughout the NFL season. And not only, it's just like they're going to be kind of looking at him like, I don't know, are you with us? Are you against us? Kind of like, so he got to deal with that. To be honest, he has to
I would not want to be sitting in that locker room day one. That's going to be an awkward situation.
Exactly. So to me, like, I definitely agree with you. Like, in his case, he's learning from it. And I believe I actually believe that he's with the Black Lives Matter movement. Because he said in one of his comments that he's an ally, but he didn't realize how much what he said would be motivation to those that actually do hate, like, minorities and stuff like that, which showcases how much racism still is in America. But with that being said, like, I know for him it's a tough time because he got backlash right away. And
I do not envy his situation. It's good that he's learning, but I do not envy his current situation. I think the thing I was just kind of mostly trying to pass off from that from that whole thing, like, the thing I want us to learn is, let's try treating people with, like, love and help them learn and grow, instead of, like, trying to put them down because of what they said is wrong. That's kind of where I was going with that. And I think that's going to be kind of like my common feeling towards a lot of these different things, like, to help people grow. I think it was MLK, Martin Luther King, who said, hate doesn't fix hate. It has to be like light, love fixes hate. And I'm kind of off topic before. Do you know about the black man who's gotten multiple people out of the KKK? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, you gotta enlighten me right now.
Oh, man, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Yeah. But he's, like, gotten multiple people out of the KKK, and when they actually leave the KKK, they give them like their robes and all this different stuff. And some people are even like high levels in the KKK. And the way this black man has done it is not by putting them down, it's by like making them their like friends. And some of those people in the KKK, like some of them have never even met a black man. So they didn't even like, they were like the most ignorant of people. And that's how they were able to be like taught something and put in the KKK, because they've never met someone. They couldn't put a face to it. But once they made a black friend who taught them otherwise, you know, you can help someone learn and grow. But if you had someone like hating on them and telling them what you're doing is wrong and trying to put you down, then you're not going to change your opinion. So that's just kind of like where I'm coming from. You got to love people to change them and take out their hate.
Well, that's amazing. I gotta look that up of who that person is. Sound like a superhero movie to me though. Sound like that.
He's on. He did a podcast with Joe Rogan, and he's had a lot of TED Talks on it. Man, I can't remember his name, but you're gonna want to look him up, Meech.
No, I'm definitely gonna look him up now. But that's crazy. Like he's changing people from being in the KKK. So that's literally what I was talking about earlier. Like I don't know if people who are racist can be changed, but hey, they can be, I guess, right? They can be anything. I guess the only thing I mean, outside of God, I mean, I didn't think people could be changed from that type of deep hate, but if that's happening,
God works in mysterious ways. God works through people sometimes, you know. Yeah.
You got to keep that in mind. I ain't gonna lie though. Everything that's taken place have allowed me to see America's true colors though. Like people, like I haven't realized. I guess, I mean, I always knew that America was still filled with like racism, but I guess since Donald Trump became president, it's came out like full surface now. Like, I'm like, man, we haven't gotten anywhere really. I mean, things have changed obviously, but it's like.
I think, you know, it's two things. I agree with you. Like, since Trump became president, a lot of racist people felt comfortable coming out. I think that's true. But I also got to say, I think part of it is just the day and age that we live in, that you can see a lot of the racism. Like all the racist people have a platform to share, or you also have like police brutality. Like, honestly, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of police brutality. There's a lot of corruption, but I think it's not as nearly as high as it was back in the day, because back in the day, they didn't have body cameras. People's cell phones didn't have a camera to record it so you can catch people. So back in the day, somebody could get like brutally beaten by the police and then nothing comes of it because nobody knows about it. There's no footage. You can't take them to court. And even if you took them to court, it's not going to be on the news, you know? So I feel slightly different that there has been change, but I do agree with you. There's a lot of change that still needs to be made. And I do believe, like, I'm kind of shocked too, to see how many people are still out there supporting Trump's racist comments and things like that.
And against the Black Lives Matter movement. You would think that like it's something that's people will understand, especially before we take a break, I just have to mention this too. And I guess this was to my main point of when I was bringing up how the media changes the narrative. When people change the narrative from how, let's say, Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee, and he took a knee, if anything, he took it out of respect, but also he wanted to make a stand for what's still going on in the society and what the American flag is supposed to represent, and how it's not representing that for people of color still to this very day. So like people who use that at the like you shouldn't take a knee during the national anthem and things like that, I feel like that is how the media changes the narrative, like not only from the rioting, from the looting, but when they start to focus on like you should actually stand while listening to the national anthem, all those type of things. I feel like that overlooks why we're protesting, right? We're protesting and we're trying to make a change, right? We're trying to change.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Instead of trying to like explain where he's coming from and what he's protesting, they're trying to spin it off as, hey, this is hateful towards the flag. You didn't even talk about the main reason he was doing it. You completely ignored the fact or the reasoning or try to help people understand where he's coming from, and you went straight to, oh, this is offensive. I agree with you, Meech. I agree with you.
All right, so now we're about to take a break, but before we take the break, I gotta issue this statement too. The NFL, one of these owners need to sign Colin Kaepernick, and Colin Kaepernick needs an apology too, because
I agree that he needs an apology. I don't know how good he is, so about signing.
Oh, you gonna talk about he ain't that good? Come on now, we after all that.
No, I'm saying he's been out for a few years. No,
yeah, no, he's been out. I think since 2016.
So,
4 years.
I don't know how good he is
Yeah.
right now. That's all I'm saying. Like, hey, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Colin Kaepernick, like, it's wrong how they did him. He does deserve an apology, maybe even some money. But you're trying to sign the best player out there, you know?
Yeah.
That's all
I know there's still a bunch of quarterbacks that ain't better than Colin Kaepernick though, but he still has to probably prove that though. I get your point because he hasn't played in so long.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You know what? If you were talking about when he left, I could easily agree with you. But we haven't seen anybody for a long time play, so I can't. You know, I don't know. I don't have enough information to answer.
That's a comeback story, but this is on a side note right here. I think the Niners should sign him back again. I like Jimmy G, but Jimmy G didn't perform that well in the Super Bowl, and we could have used Colin Kaepernick scrambling and stuff like that. At least, at the very least, because Colin Kaepernick can throw too. But of course, I'm going off of when I last seen Colin Kaepernick. So
hey, hindsight 2020, Meech. You know, if they would have won, you would have been like, "Oh heck yeah, that's my quarterback right there." They lost, you know.
Yeah, they lost though. So they lost. That's all I can go off.
All right.
But that being said, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about life in quarantine. But now it's starting to come to an end, I guess. Like the pandemic is starting to come to an end somewhat.
The laws are starting to end. Well, we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back, and we're gonna discuss some more points of everything that's been going on during 2020. So we're gonna take a quick break. This is how I feel about America right now. Boy, it's real. Let them know, Phil Collins. I see America right now. Show what? And we're back from the break, and now we're going to discuss something else that we was hit with in 2020. I wonder what's coming next. We're only 6 months in, right? It's only June now, so we got six more months.
Honestly, Meech, this is like the longest year of my life, and I don't know. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It feels like this should be the end of the year right now, but we're only halfway through. Obviously after everything we've been through within this 1 year. But how's life been for you in quarantine?
You know, it's a struggle, but you know, I'm safe, I'm healthy, like I can't really complain. It might get boring. I love my family, but you know, you live with someone long enough, something's gonna bug you from them, you know, especially if you can't get out every once in a while, not even to work. You know, it's been a struggle. Professionally, like as a teacher, it's been weird, man. Like don't get me wrong, I love teaching and I got into it to teach people subjects, but I need that human interaction, man, making those connections. That's why I became a teacher. And like through Zoom and stuff, it just doesn't cut it the same, you know. You can't get through to them the same way.
Is your family gonna watch this podcast? Are they gonna hear you kind of a little tired of their stuff?
My family knows straight up how I feel about them, you know.
That's how me and my family is. I was just talking to I don't know, I was talking to a friend the other day.
If it wasn't clear,
yeah, what?
If it wasn't clear,
let me make it more clear.
Let me make it more clear. I can't stand you guys sometimes.
It's funny. I was just talking to a friend.
I love you.
Yeah.
I can't stand you sometimes. I love you.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was just like, the other day, I was like, man, I don't know if people know this, but just a part of like black culture, we talk about each other all the time. Literally, all in my household, literally, all we do is talk about each other. Meech. That's just.
I think that's just being human.
Is it? Is it?
I think so. I feel so. I don't know. I want to meet one person whose family doesn't talk about each other ever, because I don't believe it.
But I mean, what have you been doing since this coronavirus pandemic hit?
I've been finding a few pounds here and there, you know.
Okay. Okay.
No, it's not a good thing, Meech.
Yeah.
You know, I've been swimming a lot. It took a while before I could start getting in the pool because it was kind of cold at first, but I've been swimming a lot. I actually play some more video games here and there. It's got to a point where I'm tired of video games too. Mm-hmm. And I know things are opening up, but to be honest, I don't feel super comfortable going out that much still, you know, into super crowded areas. So I think I'm gonna just be in that situation for a little while longer where I'm just bored. I'm trying to figure out what to do day to day.
Yeah, I didn't get to ask you though, but I'm assuming everyone's doing okay. But how's everyone? How's your family? Everyone's healthy?
Yeah, we're all physically healthy for the most part, you know. Some extended family out there, you know. We all go through situations, and that's the crazy thing about quarantine too, because it's a crazy time being at home. Our mental health, I think everybody's like at that point, like, oh, you say one more thing, you know?
Yeah.
But life doesn't stop, man. So you still have people going through different things, like a lot of people who lost their jobs, like quarantine is just the tip of the iceberg in some people's lives, you know? Mm-hmm. Being locked up at home is not even the biggest thing they're dealing with. So that's how I feel. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you this too. What is the first thing do you plan on doing once everything gets back to normal fully?
So it's already starting to get back to normal.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm gonna do it anytime soon. But I gotta have me some Korean barbecue, man.
Korean barbecue.
Because it's a dine-in. It's a dine-in, all you can eat. And I know you don't like it because we took you once.
Man.
You were not a fan. But I need me some KBBQ, you know? So Korean barbecue, and I want to go on a trip, you know? As a teacher, summertime is my time to relax. And I need to go somewhere.
I feel like I need to go somewhere too. It's been like just mental chaos since the beginning of January all the way until this point, and now we're in June. But speaking on that Korean barbecue, for the listeners right now, I'm pretty much, I have a plant-based diet for the most part. That's why I don't really dig the Korean barbecue too much. But we went a few times. To me, if you have a plant-based diet, it's like, what can you really eat there? It's like, it's literally nothing. It's like,
you know what? We need to meet in the middle. I need to eat some more veggies and eat some more just plant-based meals. But you need to eat some meat too, bro.
I'll eat some seafood. I'll go in on maybe some crab. Some like
they got stuff like shrimp sometimes and certain ones. It depends.
Yeah,
octopus. You want to eat some octopus?
No, I will not do that, bro. I would not do
I don't
that.
recommend it, to be honest. That's not where I go.
I think I've had squid before. Mm-hmm. Not a good decision. Not a good decision at all. It was terrible.
You know what though, Meech?
What?
People are scared of trying new foods, man. Some people are scared. So when you finally do try it, you've already built it up so much in your head that you don't like it. Mm-hmm. But if you give it enough tries, you find you like some stuff that you didn't before, you know? Mm-hmm. So, for example, for me, sushi. Sushi was the one that at first I was like, it's kind of weird. The texture like throws me off. Yeah. But I ate it enough times that I'm like, oh, you want to go get some sushi? I'm with it. Let's go.
The funny thing is for me, sushi, I'm good with it if it's like fried sushi. So that's probably not even sushi really then, right? Like,
no. I can eat all of it, but I'll admit to you, I like the fried one more. And even though I know some like authentic sushi people will be like, that ain't even sushi. Well, you know what? We got to evolve our thinking of sushi because when things evolve, they get better. And I like that fried one.
Yeah. So we're gonna switch it up a little bit. How's life been after graduating from college?
Oh, man.
Like, to keep in mind, people, we graduated in 2017. I almost forgot it's been that long. So. Yeah, 2017. Yeah.
So here's the thing, Meech. Like, man, it feels like I hadn't been back in school in like years. I mean, as a student, because I'm still teaching. I feel like, I don't know, man. Life goes by quick after college, you know? It's weird. Like 1 year feels like 10 years, you know? Mm-hmm. It's crazy. So I've been teaching. I teach middle school. I teach 8th grade math. That's kind of always been what I've been striving to do when I was in college. So I love doing that. I've been coaching some basketball, which, I love that. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Next, Coach Pop right here. Just give me a few years,
Okay. Okay. Hey, this is the funny thing about, I think it's amazing that Erik is coaching basketball, but y'all got to understand that I'm also Erik's friend, and I played basketball with Erik many times for many and many years. And it's I wonder, dang, I gotta find footage. I gotta find that footage if I could play in this podcast, like when y'all see this podcast. But man, I gotta show y'all Erik's skills, man.
Meech, as a coach, I hope that footage never shows up ever in my lifetime, because I got players, kids on my teams that they wouldn't look at me the same. They're like, "That's how you play? That's how you used to play?"
You could teach them, this is what you should not do. This is what you should not do.
No, they know better how to do what they shouldn't do, so they don't need to be taught that anymore.
Yeah.
But you know what, Meech?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're saying, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's people who are good, there's people who are bad, and then there's people who are okay, but they do it ugly. Like, it's not pretty. That was me. I was just the ugly. I could put up some points. I got some work done. It wasn't pretty. Like, nobody's like, "Oh, you want to look at this sick mixtape?" But I got some work done.
I feel like I can edit a sick mixtape for Erik. Every single highlight clip is gonna be the behind the back. Every single highlight clip is gonna have the behind the back.
Here's the thing, Meech. So I will 100% say this: if you're trying to put out a mixtape on there, it's not gonna be nothing special. But people see me at a gym, they underestimate me, and then gone. I'm at the basket blowing a layup.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Erik, I gotta give it to you. You had some good games, but sometimes, man, it's been some bad ones though.
The ball in the hole.
We all have bad ones though. We all have bad ones. But I mean, I didn't ever get to ask you about this too. We're gonna transition a little bit. At the beginning of 2020, in January, we was hit with something devastating that caught everyone off guard, with Kobe Bryant's passing. Right. And not only just Kobe Bryant, but to everyone else that was on the plane. Right. Our condolences go out to them and their families. But I never got to ask you that. How did you feel, and how did it affect you seeing Kobe Bryant's passing?
You know what? It was sad seeing Kobe go, because it's someone you really have to respect. Even if you weren't a Laker fan, like, everybody in the league, like, they knew Kobe. And what made Kobe so great, like, don't get me wrong, he was a boss on the court, but it's the Mamba mentality, like, win, like, grind. Nobody's gonna outwork me. So, like, he really, like, showed a lot of people the way to being successful. Work hard, And then, in all honesty, he was also just like a good, genuine human being, It's hard to be that famous, that rich, and still be like a good person. Like money, more problems. Like, it's a real thing. But Kobe, he was a good dude. So it's kind of weird because he was already retired at the time. So I don't know, man. I thought it was really sad, like, as a person looking out and inside, because a lot of people have fond memories of Kobe, but he was already kind of retired.
Yeah.
So I was more sad about Kobe the dad dying than maybe Kobe the player, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of my perspective on it.
No, I definitely agree with that too, because it seemed like he was so happy about just being a father. Like, he didn't want to play basketball anymore, really, or like to actually, like, he was over that point. You know how some players, when they retire, it's hard for them to get over that feeling of wanting to play.
Yeah, Vince Carter still hasn't gotten over it.
Yeah, Vince, I think he's just retired, right? Vince Carter just retired. Forcibly.
You know what? I didn't hear about if he retired or not, but that dude has been playing my whole lifetime, and I'm like, what the heck?
No, they recently said that, like, because I believe, right, he plays right now for the Atlanta Hawks, and I'm trying to make sure, is that the Atlanta Hawks, they're not one of the teams that's going to Orlando. Yeah, so because of that, he had to retire, because this was going to be his last year, and because they're not playing any more games for Atlanta, it's officially
Somebody
done.
needs to trade for Vince Carter right now. Get him in that league.
He doesn't believe in ring chasing. Even though to me, I don't
Oh,
really.
it's not about ring chasing.
Yeah, me too. That's what I think.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You should want to win at all costs, but like ring chasing is you like almost saying, I'm not good enough to get it done with what I'm given. Let me make this task easier. Like that takes away from it, you know? Like, oh man, this is gonna, I don't want to steer too much into the topic, but I'm going to do this knowing that you have to respond to it. Like that's why Kobe was the GOAT. He was on the Lakers. He won it with the Lakers. And then he kept on, like, even it took a while, but then he won it again over and over and over again with the Lakers, you know? Not like a certain player who has to make super teams to win it.
Wait. See, I was going to just move on to talking about the NBA is returning, but wait.
I knew you were going to have to respond to that comment.
So wait a second. Wait, who's the GOAT? Who's the GOAT? All respect to Kobe Bryant, legend. Rest in peace.
No, okay. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know what I mean? Like I really do respect the way Kobe got it done and won those championships. No. Like individual basis, like we can have an argument all day long, and I understand your argument and who you're for, LeBron James, which is cool. Like no disrespect there, but like something about the way Kobe won his rings was a little bit better to me than someone like LeBron James winning their rings. Not taking away from his greatness as an athlete, as a player, but you know, to me, like I almost feel like it's like when you get there with the team that you've been with the whole time and you struggled with is even more sweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like LeBron James is my favorite player, but after watching, I'm not sure if you was able to see The Last Dance, the 10-part series about basically Jordan and that last, I believe it was the 97-98 Chicago Bulls team. And basically Jordan is definitely the greatest of all time. When you're just talking about skills and you're talking about like the way he has so many, like the way LeBron scores and the way LeBron plays is way different than Jordan and Kobe. Jordan and Kobe plays exactly alike. They play based upon skill. Like if they didn't have height, or if they didn't have height or strength, they would still be able to get it done because their skills is that good. Yeah, they have moves. LeBron, I believe, LeBron has skills as well, and LeBron is my favorite. But LeBron doesn't have as many moves like Kobe and Jordan does or did. So
Kobe and Jordan can at will win. Like if you told me this is life or death, I would never go against Kobe or Michael Jordan. They're going to win that game. But I get what you're saying. To be honest, like this is sort of like, if I had to choose a skill set, I like a little bit more how LeBron plays than Kobe or Michael Jordan. Because even though it's super impressive to be able to get it done, like that's what I love about basketball. It's like a team game. There's a lot of multiple ways to get it done. You can be someone who's good at dropping dimes. You could be someone, like it's a team game. So I kind of actually, if you had to tell me, is like, would you rather be able to score at will like Kobe or Michael Jordan, or would you rather be a LeBron? I kind of rather have LeBron's skill set, just personally. No,
it's funny. Like I mean, I'm always gonna give praise to LeBron. I like the way LeBron plays. He's like pass first mentality, and then not only that, he can literally score at will if he wants to as well. Like even though his mindset, he's more like Magic Johnson. But he's like a Magic Johnson that can score like 30 points a game if he wants to.
I agree with you. He can score at will, but his score at will level may be at a like 8, 9. Kobe, Michael Jordan, like a 10. But he's still like, don't get me wrong, like.
Everybody probably is like on my side for like because of what we've been talking about throughout this podcast. That being said, everyone's probably gonna be mad at this. I love Kobe. Rest in peace, Kobe. Is this? I don't know if this is too soon, but if we have to have a debate, LeBron or Kobe, and we're just talking about basketball, I'm going LeBron James every day of the week. Now, I'm not going to say LeBron's better than Jordan, but if we're talking about Kobe, and people have that debate, Kobe has 5 rings. LeBron is still working on his 4th ring. He has 3 right now. I don't know, man. When I just think of what LeBron did, LeBron he grew up in Akron, Ohio, but he brought a championship to his home, pretty much, right, state, or like his home. Yeah, he pretty much brought a championship to where he grew up. And they didn't win any championships for 52 years, and that's just one of his rings. And that's your hometown. Come on now, you the one to end the drought. And it was against a 73-9 Warriors team.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. If you told me all of LeBron's rings were with Cleveland and he stayed the whole time with Cleveland, then I could hear your argument more. But it's kind of, man, we're completely changing this podcast.
Exactly. We're talking about basketball.
It's all good. So, to be honest, like there's just some admiration I have for Kobe's like I'm gonna stick it out with this team and I'm gonna win with this team. Because when he first showed up, don't get me wrong, like the first couple rings he had, like he was a huge part of it, but he wasn't even the Finals MVP. Shaq was, right?
Yep, Shaq, the 3 rings.
But he stuck it out and he won a ring with like Pau Gasol and like Andrew Bynum. Like what the? Like who is that? You know, it's like when when like LeBron's last year before he left, like the first time around, he took a team of like Varejao to the finals. Like who's on that team, you know? So like Kobe's, like I was saying, those Kobe like rings to me mean a little more than like LeBron's rings. But you know, if we're talking about skill based, we'll have to see how the careers end, you know?
Exactly. But before we end off with our last few topics, or before we give our closing words, we're going to take one last break.
All right.
And we'll be right
back.
Sounds
good.
Yes, sir. This is how I feel about America right now. One last time, the theme.
But I see your true colors shining through.
I see your true America.
So don't be afraid.
That's the theme for this podcast. What? Your true colors. And we're back from the break. And before we end off this podcast, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you the mic. You can say anything you want to leave the people with. Anything you want to talk about 2020, anything like that. Your closing words.
Well, 2020, crazy year. In all honesty, I don't know what's gonna happen next. Like I've seen like memes say like, dang, people don't even know what's coming next. Like, hey, June, dinosaurs. Like I don't know.
Aliens. I don't even believe in aliens. But.
You don't know. But okay, I'm a spiritual person, and in all honesty, if someone told me world's ending this year, I was like, yup, I believe it. Like I could believe it. Not saying that it will, but whatever I'm trying to say is it's a tough time out there. Be kind to others, you know, especially if you're out there protesting, be safe, man. Try to make sure you listen to others and not just be listened to. And if you really want to change others and change their opinions, you know, treat them with love, you know, kindness, be out there, do good. I know it's a crazy time, but just try to be the best person you can be. Go out into the world and make it a better place, you know? So I know it's a crazy time right now, but there's a lot of good that can still be done. If you don't feel safe protesting, educate yourself. You know, there's a lot of different type of systemic racism that you might not even be aware of. So try to educate yourself if you don't feel comfortable protesting, not just because, you know, some cops go too far, but coronavirus is still a thing. I honestly think we're all gonna be scared with the number of people of getting infected with everything opening up. Yeah. So, you know, stay safe, be good to others. If you can donate blood. There's a lot of good things that you can be doing out there for the world to make it a better place. So that's what I feel. To you people watching this right now, make sure you're giving Meech some love. This man's working hard. I'm 100% admit this to you, Meech. When we were in college and you were doing all the stuff that you were doing, I was like, man, I love my boy Meech. Like, and I love his mentality because you need this mentality to make it. But I was like, man, I don't know if he's ever going to make it. But you know what? As I've grown older.
Hey, that's friends for you. Just like,
No, I'm gonna be. No, here's the
hey,
thing.
your friend's supposed to keep it real with you. If you putting out that mixtape that is weak, you putting out that whack mixtape, they supposed to tell you it's whack. I don't believe in that, dude. You may need to get a real job, man. Tell them.
Here's the thing, Meech. It's not that I didn't think that you had what it takes to make it. Mm-hmm. It's that I thought making it was all about luck. Mm-hmm. Like, it's about knowing the right people. It's about making the right connection. Mm-hmm. But the more I grow in life, the more that I've like experienced in my lifetime, I've noticed and I've seen it's about hard work. You're going to make that connection if you work hard, if you keep your dream, if you keep on pushing towards it. Like, yes, all you need is like that one right connection. But if you work hard, you're way more likely to hit it, you know? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to keep it like this. I'm trying to say, like, when I first met you, Meech, I loved you and I thought you'd make a great person. But I thought if you made it, it was going to be kind of like luck. But I believe, Meech, that if you keep on grinding and you work hard, you'll hit your day, man. That's what I think. So people out there, give Meech some love. Like, that's all it is.
I appreciate that. And before we go, I'm going to give my last few comments for this podcast. I think it's very important for people to see how the media can change the narrative. But more importantly than that, for people that are Caucasian, or if we were just being real about it, people that are white, I think it's very important that you talk to your friends, you talk to the people in your community so that they can actually have a change of mindset, right? Because at the end of the day, if it's just people of color who are speaking out, we're going to be heard, right? But it takes us all to be united, that things are really going to be changed, right? And ultimately, I want to say as well is that rest in peace to George Floyd, and there's countless people as well that haven't even been in the headlines. That's been the result of police brutality, right? We even talked about a little bit earlier how in the past it was a lot of people that were getting like murdered or just receiving injustice, but it just wasn't videoed. That still takes place now. So
of all ethnicities and races too. Like, I'm not trying to take away and say it's not just like, I'm not trying to say, I'm trying to say it's an injustice to everybody, the way the system's broken. So we should all be doing our part, and like irrelevant of your race, like things systematically need to change. Mm-hmm. So it's not just to one race to change it.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. Actually, in Vallejo, in the midst of all this, a Mexican person was killed by a cop, and they believe it was because they believed he had a gun on him or some type of weapon, but I guess he just had a hammer. So they shot him, and they killed him. And so, to the point that you even made earlier, it's not just cops that are like racist, or just some cops just need to be trained better. Like, cops need to be trained better. Some cops are just fearful of their own lives, and in that they take other people's lives. So it got to be better training for the cops as well, or they got to be So, but with that being said, I think we hit everything. We hit every topic.
Meech, one more thing to the people out there. One more thing. Please go out there, register to vote. Make sure you vote. We forgot to talk about that.
Yeah. I just thought about that.
Joe Biden, I doubt you're watching this, but just keep your mouth shut, man. Like, just don't mess this up.
Bruh.
Like,
Joe. Joe, you should be president in November, Joe. If you mess this up somehow, some way with those comments you made earlier talking about if you got a hard time voting for Donald Trump, then you ain't black. Why do y'all always be trying to don't let me get started. Why y'all always be trying to say who black? How do y'all be in control of what's black and who black? See, let me not get started with that, Joe. Just do me a favor. Don't say a word until November, Joe, and you will become president. Just I bank on it, Joe. We did not even talk about that. I forgot. But Joe.
It's okay. If the people want it, I'll be back, Meech. We can talk about it. Yeah. But either way, go out there and vote. Whoever you're for, make sure your voice is heard, especially in your local politics. Like, you vote for district attorneys. And district attorneys are the ones in charge of trying people in your area, even the cops who are not doing what they need to, they're the ones in charge. So make sure you're putting the right people in the right places. Make sure your voice is being heard, because even if you feel bad about it, if you're sitting around not doing anything about it, like that's not enough, you know?
Yeah.
You can have the right feelings, but if you're not doing anything about it, you know, it doesn't matter what your feelings are, because if you're not being heard or you're not making your voice known, it doesn't matter if you have the right feelings. You're not changing anything, you know?
Yeah.
So go out there, sign up to vote if you've never have. I know it's hard to keep up with the process, but we got to make an effort.
That had to have been part of the reason why Donald Trump became president, because a lot of people didn't even choose to vote because they didn't want to vote for Hillary and they didn't want to vote for Donald Trump. But you got to make sure you vote. And I can't tell you who to vote for, but vote for Joe Biden. and that being said, this is the Voiceless podcast, and we will never be silent. Thank you to Erik for coming on the show. This is actually our first time doing an interview through Zoom, and I actually like it, and we're gonna do it some more. But and if y'all want Erik on, and even if y'all don't want Erik on, Erik's gonna be on some more throughout the years and whatnot. But that being said, this is the Voices podcast. We will never be silent. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for watching.